Welcome to the Voice of Source podcast or discussion channel. Um, the content on this channel is mainly aimed towards discussing some of the polarizing topics that comes up on a daily basis in our lives and trying to add a little bit of a different perspective to some of these content. And I feel as though I have a little bit to lend to the current climate that we find ourselves in. There's a lot going on in the world around us, and there's so many different people weighing in on different topics and lending their expertise, lending their opinions, lending their disdain, disgust, perspective, whatever it is you choose to call it. And I feel as though that I also have a voice, and it might not be a popular voice, but nevertheless, it's still a voice. And I would like to use this channel as an opportunity to express some of my views, some of my perspectives, some of my thoughts, some of my opinions about the topics that I will be discussing on this channel. I will also have periodically guest co-hosts or panels, because a lot of the topics will require the perspective of men and women, male and female. And the idea is to have a general forum where we can have discussion in an adult, respectful manner. I mean, we're not going to agree on every single thing, but being able to disagree but do it respectfully is what the goal of this channel and the content is all about. And so that's basically what I'm discussing today. Going over the basics of what I will be attempting to do with this channel. In addition to that, I also wanted to delve a little bit into a topic, and I'm going to call it triggered. Trigger, triggered. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this topic is because it seems as though people are being triggered more and more these days with things that other people say or other people do. And I've had an experience where I made a comment about God and man. I said that I think God needs man as much as man needs God. And somebody who I was making this discussion with, who I was discussing this with, who is obviously a Christian, Orthodox Christian at that, became very, very triggered by those comments. And I couldn't understand why, because there was no intent in me to be malicious. I had no malicious intent. I just simply made a comment, and I've had discussions with this person before as far as religion is concerned. So I didn't think that there was anything wrong with making that comment. And so I wanted to spend a few minutes to focus on triggered and why people are triggered. Now, there is a myriad of different reasons why people can be triggered, right? So it's not so much about why are people triggered in terms of picking a specific thing that triggered the person, but rather getting into the actual depths of why that specific thing is able to trigger that person in the first place. And so I was a little bit puzzled by the reaction. But then when I allow myself to step back and observe it from a global perspective instead of my own myopic perspective, I realized that many people are going through different trials and tribulations, and they're on different journeys in this game of life. And as part of the journeys, there are struggles, there are frustrations, there are disappointments. And when you have a series of struggles, disappointment, frustration, back to back to back to back over a period of time, then I suppose it takes a toll on the psyche and the mind of different individuals. And so saying something could trigger a certain response in that individual. Another thing that I realize is that many times we lie to ourselves to make ourselves feel good about a certain perspective or a certain belief system that we embrace. And anything that challenges that belief system will trigger a person, because underneath that belief system, well, there is no substance. And so whenever you shine light on something that is no substance, then whoever is embracing that no substance perspective or belief system will be triggered, because it is putting responsibility on that person to analyze that specific belief system. Because if anybody could say something to trigger you or anybody else, it is not the person that is being that is doing the saying or doing the triggering that is the problem. It is the person who is being triggered by what is being said. The idea then now would be for that person to redirect that light of introspection into themselves and say, wait a second, why am I being triggered by what this person say? Something as innocuous as saying God needs man as much as man needs God. Now, I can't project how I would respond to that statement to someone else. I can't say, well, that person should have responded in this manner. I could only say how I would respond. And because I would respond this way, I don't expect that somebody else would. But my response would be, okay, explain to me why you think God needs man just as much as man needs God. And it lends itself to a different discussion where, there could be a little bit of bantering back and forth respectfully, give and take. But then at the end, the goal is that each person learns something from this discussion. And that's my whole aim in life, is to learn and grow and become a better version of myself. Each one teach one, and I could learn something from anyone. And I hope that somebody who come in contact with me can learn something from me. And this person have known me for a little bit, and there was nothing in me to indicate that I had any malicious intent towards this person or anybody else for that matter. So what I know about truth is truth doesn't need to be validated. And truth is not moved by, truth does not become triggered. If you fundamentally understand and know who you are, deep within the soul, the fabric, the essence of who you are, there's nothing that another person can say that could trigger you, because your house is built in solid ground. That foundation cannot be shaken when the storm comes. You understand? But if the moment the wind blow, the house start moving to and fro, and the person is feeling uncomfortable and triggered by what is being said, that is evident that the foundation itself is not solid. It's built on straw, or built on something that is not a true, that is not truth, that is founded on truth. Because if somebody could make an innocuous comment as, I think God created man, I think God needs man just as much as man needs God, that would trigger someone to the point where it's completely irrational. To the point of disrespectful irrationality. That's just how far it went to. Oh my God, I don't believe you say that. Wait a second. Why would anybody be triggered to that extent by a simple comment? So I was a little bit perplexed, but I understand in the end, like I said before, we're on different journeys, we're on different paths. And on those paths, we have many, many different challenges. We come across many different peoples who are at different levels of their journey, and they have different things to add, different things to learn, different things to unpack. And so I'm fine with everybody unpacking whatever it is they need to unpack for a deeper understanding. And so I have been triggered in the past before. And most of the times when I analyze why I'm being triggered, I realize in those moments that I was being triggered because I had embraced a new belief system. And I was trying to assimilate that new belief system into my life. I was trying to use that new belief system to give my life some kind of purpose. And anything that challenged that belief system, I would rail against those things because they were challenging something that I believe was defining the core of who I am. It wasn't until I started becoming less intimate with those belief systems and allowing myself the latitude for growth and to make adjustments as new information present themselves, that I realized that this is a journey. And as we get new information, we revise the old or add it to the old, and then we have a bigger picture. It's like looking at the world through a keyhole. You could only see what you can see through the keyhole because of the size of the hole that is allowing you sight or vision or interface into the world. But as the hole becomes bigger, you start seeing more and more of the world. And with the new information that you're taking in, you're able to have a different perspective of what you thought the world was in the first place. And as that hole becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, you start seeing more and more and more and more of the hole. And then, of course, your perspective completely changed from what you thought it was when you only saw a little bit. And I think when it comes to religious doctrine and religious dogmas and religious teaching, a lot of people are stuck in kindergarten level with that very, very pinhole perspective of the world, and they're unwilling to allow themselves to see more of it, because if they see more of it, they will have to revise that fundamental thinking, that belief system that they have, and they're not willing to unload that. So they will become triggered when anything comes in that will shed a light on the fact that they may have been misled all their life, or they might be believing in a falsehood, in a falsity. I remember when I first made the connection that I was lied to in religion. It completely shattered me because I gave everything I needed to, or I thought I needed to that particular doctrine, to that particular denomination. Because I believed that God was leading the men and women in that denomination, and I was getting the information that I require in order for me to be a better steward of the word, or a better follower of the Lamb of God, Jesus Christ. But it was a struggle for me in the beginning because I was unwilling to put down the old belief system when new information presented itself to me. And so what I had to do was eventually I had to lay down the old belief systems that I had and analyze the new information in light of their own weight. And if I find that information wanting, then I will throw it aside and then pick up my belief system and continue. But what I found out is when I laid down the old belief system and analyzed the new information in light of its own weight, I started realizing that my consciousness started increasing, expanding. And because of the expansion in consciousness, I was able to see things that I didn't see before when I had that myopic, closed-minded belief system. And as my consciousness expanded, more and more information presented itself to me, which expand my consciousness even further and further. And now I have much better understanding of scriptures, much better understanding of the teaching in scriptures than I did when I had the myopic, closed-minded perspective that I was given as a child. I am in this amazing game, and this journey is beautiful. And there are so many of us who are out there doing the best that we can to learn as much as we can, to grow as much as we can, and to be a better version of ourselves. I'm only competing with one person. That one person is me. There's no competition outside of me for me. It is only me that I am competing with. And the idea is for me to be better tomorrow than I am today, regardless of what anybody else thinks, because this is my journey. At the end of the day, I will have to stand and be responsible and be held accountable for every decision, every choice that I make, regardless of what another person chooses to say or believe or think of me. And so, whenever you feel triggered by something someone say, that means that there is something in you that is uneasy about what that person is saying. So what you need to do is go within and analyze that information. Ask yourself, why am I being triggered by this? Ask yourself with the intent of finding an answer. Why am I being triggered by what this person is saying? Meditate on that. And in time, you will see that it is not the person who triggered you that's the problem, but it is something within you that is being triggered by what the person said or did that is the problem. And when you reconcile that within you, nothing outside of you can trigger you in that manner again. I'm not saying that there wouldn't be other triggers or other things within you that will be triggered, but the idea is to find those things and uproot those things and throw them out. And what that does, I believe, it expands our consciousness. We become more whole and complete within. And then when we are whole and complete within, then the experiences that we have in life is reflected back to us based upon that whole and completeness that is within us. This is an amazing journey. And the power is with every single one of us to choose what we listen to choose what we eat, to make choices that are beneficial for us. And if anybody is coming into our lives that is triggering us, perhaps we may need to disconnect from that person. But the most important thing is to find out why we're being triggered in the first place and address it at the roots. And then the rest will be gravy. Again, thank you for tuning in. Welcome to this amazing channel. And this is just the beginning. This is going to be awesome. Anyway, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you again next time.